Welcome to Where Parents Talk. My name is Lianne Castelino. Our guest today is a mom of two and a grandmother of four. Marie Hollaway raised her two boys as a single mother. One of her sons is NBA All-Star and Toronto Raptors point guard Kyle Lowry. Marie Hollaway joins us from her home in Philadelphia. Marie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I wanted to go back a little bit into your history and ask you, when it was clear that you were going to become a single mother raising these two boys, what would you say that your mindset shifted to at that moment?
That I knew I needed to do what I had to do to make sure my kids are okay. To make sure that my kids would be okay. So I had a very strong mother who raised us pretty much by herself. So I had a good role model.
In what specific ways would you say that you learned through your mother who was helping you raise your sons?
Well, my mother only had a temporary education. So I watched her raise us, buy a home, help raise, some of the other grandchildren. So like I said, I had a really good role model as to how to get things done.
Can you give us a little sense into what your life was like back then? And we're talking, a few years ago now, but, you were working several jobs. Can you give us a glimpse into what that looked like on a daily basis for you?
So when it was just me, Lonnie, and my mom, I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and it was me and her, and we would, I would take Lonnie to daycare. Would I take Lonnie to daycare? We would pass off. Like I would meet her. She worked there in the morning, I worked at night. So I would either bring him with me, and when we pass off, and she would take him home and she would watch him. And, financially we were okay. It wasn't too bad. And then when I started working at the IRS, things got a little better financially. Kyle came along. Thank God for my mom, because I was working at night, 4 to 12:30. So, financially things were, better. It was like, we made it work. And then when I started, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, then when I started working at the post office, again, thank God for my mother, because I was working all kind of hours, 6 at night to 2:30 in the morning, 8:30 at night to 5 in the morning, 8:30 to 7, 3:30, 2:30 in the morning to 11, to 9. Like I had all kind of crazy hours, but we made it work.
When you look back on it now, what goes through your mind as to how you got through that period? Because we're talking about the span of several years, right?
We got through it. Like my mom was, like I said, my mom was a strong woman, which made me a strong woman. A lot of mistakes were made on the way. I didn't expect to or plan to be a single mom. But we did it. It was times when, we had, we ate hot dogs and baked beans for a few days because things didn't go the way we wanted them to go. But, things got better in time, and it was our job to make sure the kids never knew that it was any type of struggle or anything going on. So they had everything they needed and most of what they wanted.
I've read that you've said that you always wanted the best for your kids, despite all of the adversity that you overcame.
Of course.
What put that in your mind, and what made you want to achieve that goal for your sons?
Well, I would hope that's what everybody wants for the kids. I didn't have a bad childhood at all. My dad and my mom broke up when I was 7, I think. But my dad was always in my life. And my mom had, I had gotten someone that was like my stepdad. He was pretty good. So I just wanted, I just wanted better. And I was bused to school. I don't know if you know what that means. So I went to school around predominantly white people, and most of them, both their parents were in the house, and you could see the neighborhood as we were riding through. And it was funny. I was with, I think I was in the car with my granddaughter, and we were riding through that neighborhood, and it's not what it was back when I went to school. And I was like, I remember thinking, oh, I want to live up here. This is where I want to live. These houses are so nice. It's green up here. They have lawns and grass and stuff like that. So I knew that I wanted better for myself. So I knew I wanted better for my kids.
How would you go about describing your parenting style?
Very laid back. Very laid back. I try not to get, I'm a yeller. I'm a yeller. I'd rather yell than to get physical. Hopefully the yelling works. My mother, on the other hand, was old school, and she believed in the not to spare the rod or whatever. I mean, she never abused them or anything like that, but they were afraid of my mother. I don't really know why, because she was kind of like not a big lady, but I just guess it was just the way she said things and the way she, carried herself.
So the boys had a healthy fear of their grandmother.
Yes, they had a healthy fear of their mom too, because I think they thought my calm was scary. It was like mom is a little too calm. Maybe if she goes, she's gonna snap. So, but honestly, I have to be real honest. They were very good kids. I'm not even like fronting on that. They were very good children. They had good friends. They didn't do a lot. They didn't do a lot for us to really have to, get physical and anything like that. Just boy stuff. Not want to clean their rooms and things like that.
All very typical, definitely. When you think back on it, what would you say that your mother, who, while you were working, was the one helping to raise your boys, what values did she instill in them?
They loved my mom. And I think she would bombard them with those old stories, about when I was a kid, and this, and this, and yada, yada. They saw my mom. She was a waitress, and they went to her job, and they saw how good she was and how people responded to her, and they knew how favored she was in the neighborhood, how everybody loved her. And I just think them knowing her story made them respect and love her more, because they know she only had a temporary education. And they know that she raised us working at a restaurant and, earning tips and things like that. So that carried on. They watched me work, 2 jobs, and I wasn't around as much as I would have liked to be because the crazy hours that I worked. So I believe that instilled something in them that was never lost.
We talked about how you always wanted the best for your boys. I'm wondering, in terms of priorities, what were the top priorities in your mind as to what you wanted them to absolutely have?
To have that fire that y'all see Kyle has, to want and to go and get what they wanted. Not by any means necessary, but damn near. They both are great men. They both work super hard. Lonnie didn't miss a day of school from I think his first day of middle school till he graduated. He's pretty much like that with work. He never calls out. Kyle is the same way. You guys see how hard he works and what he does, and that go get it mentality is what I hope is what they took most of.
Education, as I understand it, was also very important to you for your sons. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I was bused to school, and I think it made a huge difference in my life. and they were bused to school as well. So I feel like they had a better education. They had more of an idea of what I wanted for them and what their lives to be. And I mean, I hate to say it, like, I mean, it is what it is. The neighborhoods where we predominantly grew up, the education wasn't the same, the school district wasn't the same. Like, it was really obvious. And I just stressed to them, I never said to them, you got to bring me home all A's and B's. Just do the best you can. That's all I want you to do. If you work hard and you just can't get it, or you just don't have that 99 in you, that's fine. Just give it your best. That's all I've ever wanted from them. I never was one to, get mad if they had a D on a report, as long as it was only like one. Like, I wasn't, don't get it twisted. I cared about their grades, but I just wasn't one of those, you got to bring A's and B's. You got to do this. No, I'm like, this is your life. And you have to I can't take the test for you. I can't do the work for you. So if you need help, ask for help. Ask the teacher, tell me you need help. We're going to do whatever we need to do. And both of them smart as whips. Like,
that's wonderful.
They were good kids. Like I said, I mean, I got lucky. I got lucky.
I'm sure they feel the same way about you.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
I wonder, why was it important for you to introduce your boys to sports? And at what age were they when you did that? And what sports were they?
Okay. So I was a tomboy. So I played sports. So I played sports. I played softball. I played volleyball, basketball, football. I did it all. Like, I loved it. And and because I was a single parent, I wanted to make sure that they had sports in their lives. We're a sports family. Like, we all like sports. So they had little basketballs and footballs and all that stuff. Like, their first Christmases, they had all that stuff. So from damn near birth, I was pregnant with Lonnie, and still attending my high school basketball games. And I don't know if anybody knows who Linda Page is, but I was pregnant with Lonnie, sitting in the gym on the table when she scored a 100-point game.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, little did you know, you were part of history.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
So do you recall what you first introduced them to, or was it just like anything you could kind of get your hands on for them?
Wow. Like I said, probably a football. Whatever, like, because they were little, so it wasn't too much stuff they could have. But I was a softball player, and they were with me playing, like, at my games. I had Lonnie in May. Our season had started when my 6 weeks was up. I was back out on the field. Me and him in the stroller. A couple of us actually had babies within like a couple months of each other, and they grew up on the softball field. So that was probably what they were introduced to first.
It's so interesting because I think a lot of parents whose kids play sports at a young age, and you watch them go up, as they get older, and how they might pick one or two sports, but you learn a lot about your child watching them participate. I wonder, do you recall what you learned about each of your boys and the sports they played?
Well, I always tell this story about Kyle with the baseball. Because he started, that was his first sort of organized thing. It was like a Phillies, I forgot what it was called, Philly Rookie League, and they had a pitching machine, or somebody would pitch. Kyle, no matter where he hit the ball, never stopped at first base. The ball would be in the first baseman's glove, and Kyle would just keep going running by. It was just the funniest thing ever. So I knew then that he was just going to be like tenacious when it came to sports. Lonnie's a little more laid back, more a student of the games. But yeah, I knew Kyle was going to be that one, that feisty one. So
So it's interesting. We talked about your work and how busy you were and, sports, but how did the boys learn from each other, do you think?
Well, Lonnie is almost 5 years older than Kyle. So he was more into sports and knew more about it. So he and his friends would take Kyle with them to play. So that's how he learned. That's how Kyle learned a lot, by hanging with Kyle with Lonnie and his friends. So that's how Kyle learned. Like Lonnie, I guess, just picked up being around me and the baseball, and like I said, we're a sports family, so we would watch basketball and football and all that. So I'm a big Eagles fan. Back then, I was a big Sixers fan. My brother had season tickets to the Sixers, so he couldn't take them both because he only had 2 tickets, so he would take one and take the other, so they got to experience all of that. So like I said, we're a sports family. So and I'm guessing whatever Lonnie learned, he passed down to Kyle. And then video games became popular too. So they were playing the basketball and stuff on.
I know that I was a huge Dr. J fan growing up. So when you say Sixers, it brings back fond memories, definitely. Any advice for parents who might be, they might have a really super skilled athlete in the family, how you go about managing a high performance elite level athlete as a parent?
Again, I have to give all kudos to his brother. Lonnie learned a lot about the ins and outs of what was going on, so he was able to kind of steer us in the right direction and steer Kyle in the right direction. But I think what's most important for parents, period, is to be honest about what your kid's talent level is, because you can have a kid that's playing like in your neighborhood or your area or whatever, and they look like the next Michael Jordan. But once you take them outside of that area around kids that are just as talented or more talented, it's kind of like, oh, wow. Like, okay, he's not that good, but then they'll continue to think that they're that good, and they push these kids and they pressure these kids because they see them as the next, like LeBron James or things like that. So your kid has to want whatever it is that's out there. You can't want it for them. I think that's the biggest thing. You have to allow them to find their own way. Wherever they lead you, you follow. They shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to follow you. You should follow them. Whatever they're telling you they need to do, and see when it stops being fun, it might be time to say, okay, do you still want to do this? Because a lot of parents do try to live through their kids, and what they didn't do or didn't get done, they try to get done through their kids. And I've seen it, because we have an AAU program, and just going through it with Kyle and watching other things, it's hard in this day and time, especially. Everybody's looking for the next big thing, and they may think it's their kid, but in reality, it may not be.
That's excellent advice. And it's interesting, especially because of social media and the world we live in today, where it seems like everybody is just constantly competing with everybody else and using, social channels and to do part of that. But when you look back on it now, in your own example with both your sons, like how did you manage that? Or did you just think, you know what, they're talented, he's talented, we'll just roll with it? And then at what point you're like, wow, this is serious?
I didn't like, people had been saying it to me, like saying different things, or I've been hearing it. That was never what I was in it for. I was in it for get your college paid for. That's what I wanted. Get your college paid for. And then once, things started blowing up for him, it still was never, okay, oh, he's a pro. Like, it was never really that to me until I had a scout tell me, when I think he was his second year at Nova, like, your son is a pro. And I was like, really? Like it was never that for me. Am I thankful to the Lord above? Yes, indeed. But it was about the education for me. And that's what I would hope it would be about for everybody. Like, get your education paid for if you can. That's probably one of the best things you can give your parents. One of the best thank yous you can give your parents, whether it's athletically or academically. I would prefer academically, honestly, but he was talented and whatever. I mean, it was just it was a blessing. He's a blessing.
I'm wondering, what would you say to single mothers and single fathers out there who may really see themselves in some of what you've just described in your own story, in terms of giving them hope? And I know, especially during this pandemic, there are a lot of people really, really struggling, if they're by themselves in particular, trying to raise their children. What could you say to them that, maybe helped you, or even now looking back on it, that was really something important to you?
I don't know, because everybody's story is different.
Yeah.
Everybody's situation is different, so I can't necessarily say, well, this is what I did and this is what you should do. You have to follow your heart, your mind. Sometimes your heart says one thing, but your brain tells you something else. But again, I really think you have to take your clues from your children. If you see that they love something and want to pursue it, try to help them pursue it, but let them lead you instead of you leading them. You shouldn't have to go, we gotta go to practice. Come on, we gotta go to practice. Like, they should be waiting for you at the door. Mom, it's time to go. I think that's probably the best advice, I think.
Finally, what would you say that you are most proud of with each of your sons?
Oh my God. It's it may sound corny, but it's like everything. I think them as fathers is probably what I'm most proud of, because they didn't have anybody to show them how to be a father. And they are amazing dads. When I say they are amazing dads, they are. They are.
Marie Hollaway, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me again.